what's up, guys? Welcome to the Soccer Family Podcast. This is episode like 75 or something like that. But we have, as M would say, a cast of characters in the house today. So go on and introduce yourself. M.
Yo, Wagwan family. This is Eminem. Fresh from yard, supporting Manchester United. Go Reds. We about to go into top 4 this season. Let's go, baby.
No problem. KG.
What's going on, guys? It's KG back again for another week. It's about to be a fun week.
Fantastic. Any reasons why it's going to be fun, KG?
You guys win one game. Now everybody's excited.
You'll see.
Here we go.
Hey, guys,
You'll see.
This is Akon. I'm here. What's going on, guys? Proud Arsenal fan. Happy to be here.
He said proud.
Excellent, fantastic. Hey, you can't hide when things are bad, and you're not gonna
Absolutely not.
Except we have some Arsenal funnies that aren't here today because they're terrified. But hey, before we get into the soccer topics, I just wanted to say happy belated Juneteenth. For those who don't know what Juneteenth is, it marks the end of slavery. June 19th, 1865. So just want to throw that out there. In terms of football, EPL is back, or as the Arsenal fan TV guy would say, back again. So the first game that was played on on Wednesday, I believe, was Sheffield versus Aston Villa. Khan, I wanted to ask you. There were some issues in terms of goal line technology in that game. Well, what did you make of that game, and what did you make of the decisions?
I thought it was a good game. It was a tight game. Classic Premier League game. Both teams fighting hard, challenging for the points. And the whole reason we brought in goal line technology is to avoid controversy. And here we go with a huge goal line technology controversy. The ball crossed the line. I think the explanation was that there were too many players in front of the box, so the Hawkeye or the radars couldn't pick up the feed or the signal, and they missed it. Sheffield United got cheated out of a clear goal, and let's see if those 2 points come to bite them in the end. But overall, I thought that was a disgrace. You can't have errors like that in the Premier League with so much at stake. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, I agree. KG, there was, with the Premier League, there's a lot of money on the line. And, you look at, if Aston Villa make it out with 1 point, this would be looked at. So, fair enough that this doesn't happen very often with goal line technology. But what are your thoughts on what happened?
I mean, that's kind of the beauty of the game, right? I mean, even though you can try and account for the randomness of the game, but I mean that's what makes soccer. Like, as much as you try to account for these things, like, it's always going to happen. Like, there's no such thing as a flawless system, you know what I mean? And so people are looking at this thing to be like perfect all the time. It's better than what we had before, right? And it did malfunction. And that's any system. So as long as, it's not like it doesn't work 99.9% of the time, you know what I mean? So, like, I just think it's being blown out of proportion a little bit.
KG, let me ask you this. If that happened to Chelsea and Chelsea had a clean goal taken away like that, would you still be singing the same tune?
Oh, what about against Liverpool? Do you hear us? Do you hear us talk about that goal? Like, do we complain about that shit? No, we don't.
Yo, let me tell you something, man. Okay, so
hold on. I want to hear what Akon has to reply to that.
M is not a part of it. M is not
the other way.
KG, you had your answer, and Akon has his answer, and then we're just gonna go back to Akon.
M, go ahead, M.
No, it's okay. Go, Akon. Go, Akon. Handle your business.
Listen, I got nothing to say. I mean, KG says, look, he's diplomatic. They don't, it happens to them, so that's his answer. Fine, fair enough.
Go ahead, Em. What are your thoughts on the match?
Arsenal is already having a rough week, so we can't. We're gonna have to let some things slide when it comes to Okada. Okay.
This isn't about Arsenal. All right, we're talking goal line technology.
Let's stay on top.
Let's stay focused here.
Oh, shoot.
So this is my thing. I was okay with it because Sheffield is 3 points. I don't remember how many points they are behind Manchester United. That was the only reason why I was okay with it. If I was a Sheffield fan, if I was a neutral supporter that was just trying to enjoy a game of football, it didn't make any sense. Like, why is it that when a ball goes all the way behind the goal line and it's not considered a goal? Okay, the watch that actually it didn't go off because Hawkeye is saying that out of the 9,000 games that they've recorded, the 7 camera angles has never been obscured by a defender and a goalkeeper. But VAR has the ability now to actually go back and say, hey, look, I think it was a minute after the goal was scored, play went out of bounds for a goal kick on the other side. VAR can at least say, okay, let's go review this and then let's make sure that we're getting the call right. They didn't get the call right.
That's a good point.
And I think it's something that Sheffield is probably going to end up, they might end up reeling out of control because they lost valuable points that would be able to actually make them catch up in the top, we're going to call it top 5 now, in the top 5 race. So I think that's a big blow to Sheffield.
Yeah, I agree. And they're 2 points behind you guys. They have 44 and you guys have 46. So it could be, it could be vital because right now they will have what, 48 or 47. So they would be ahead of you and the Wolves. So I think that's the right call would have been, because when the ref kind of like thought it went in, he looked at his watch and he was pointing to his watch that it didn't go in. But there was a level of hesitancy there. So being that anytime there's hesitancy, I think VAR should be called in.
Where was the linesman? The lines, like your role as a linesman is to pick up on that goal.
It's a bunch of players around the ball. It's going to be hard for a linesman to see it from that far out. The referee was close enough to see it. It's just a matter of the watch didn't go off. Like this guy, for the past. Yeah. So you can't really blame the ref. It's more like VAR should have had a bigger role in that.
You can blame a lot of people there. VAR, blame Hawkeye, blame the linesman. Blame the referee. You had 4 systems if you're counting the linesman, failed on one goal. And their whole entire job is to decide if a goal is scored or not. That's what Hawkeye's there for. That's what VAR is there for. And that's the referees. That's a big part of why referees are there, right?
But I don't think the referees make the judgment call to go to VAR. I think VAR makes that decision. So if a referee's
I think one of the reasons why VAR didn't really intervene is because it's not a part of the. I don't remember what the rules are for VAR to intervene, but that was not considered to be one of the rules for VAR to intervene. But as it relates to putting blame, I'm not going to blame anybody. We would
why is that, Em? Why
it works out for all of us.
Em is okay with the results, so he's not blaming anybody.
I support you guys in what you do, but I'll be over here with my 46 points. You guys go ahead and figure all that out.
Yeah, I mean it's unfortunate, and I've heard even like Sheffield, lawsuits and all this talk, but it's nonsense because it already happened, so there's not much they can do. All right, moving on to another game on that day, Arsenal versus Manchester City. It was interesting to see City had a slow start and then they got right back to where they left where they left off at. KG, what did you make of the game? And a big topic right now is David Luiz. So some of the things that he said after the game, cost the team the match, and he took that on the chin. But he also said that he shouldn't have maybe have played because of the whole contract discussions and stuff like that. So first, what did you think of the game, and then what did you think about David Luiz?
14 days.
I mean, both can be summed up in 2 words: typical Arsenal.
That's it. That's all you have to say.
Wait, that's your answer. Let's move on to another person. KG don't have time.
No, I would say within what 35, 40 minutes they were in the game.
Like anybody like everything that happened, like was it a surprise to anyone? Like anything that happened, was it a surprise?
The double red cards, there was a surprise.
What? Oh, David Luiz red card was a surprise?
It was a surprise. Against
Two.
City. Yeah, I mean, back to back within a span of 10 minutes to get 2 yellow cards was very much of a surprise. But if that's all you have to contribute, I can move the question on to
Okay.
Con. What are your thoughts?
In Project Restart so far, Arsenal has Cage. I guess Akan can probably answer this.
Hold on. I said Akan, but go ahead. You go ahead.
Oh, my bad. Go ahead, Akan.
No. You finish your point. Finish your point.
Well, I'm just trying to say. Well, basically, Sheffield has had a better restart than Arsenal. Okay. The way how Arsenal started. First of all, I would not take a in-season David Luiz. Okay. I don't. Why would I even consider putting an out-of-season David Luiz on anywhere in the? I think you should have at least tell David Luiz to stay home and put Ozil on the bench. That is giving your team an opportunity to actually make a difference. But you left Ozil out of the team. Started a young team against a seasoned, ready to go Manchester City. I'm not necessarily sure how Arteta's train of thought is going. I know you guys love Arteta, but I think it's time for Arteta to go. Why not?
You already are.
Just how you guys condemn Ole, like 2 games in. As soon as Ole loses 2 games, Ole out. Let's get somebody else with experience. We need to make sure that we have somebody who can demand the quality and the effort that the players need to put in. We have it's a shambles out there. Arsenal is really typically being Arsenal. You're right. But also on one note, KG, I need you to know that Kevin De Bruyne is a hell of a player. Akan, you can
go ahead, Akan.
Can you repeat the question?
So my question is more around the game. What did you make of the entire game? And then secondary, David Luiz. What are your thoughts on David Luiz, as well as what he said at the end of the game?
Listen, this is Arsenal's first game back after 2 months in the COVID-19, et cetera, et cetera. We're playing the previous champions. That's a tough fixture, And if you watched the game, you saw that we had 2 injuries in the first 10, 15 minutes. David Luiz came on as a sub. So, it's not like he was starting. He came in off the bench. He's thinking about his contract. He's not focused. And he played like a man that wasn't focused. He said that after the match, so there's only so much Arteta can do. He can't put Ozil at center back. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What about Rob Holding though? Then you guys have Rob Holding on the bench at that time. But again, I would take David Luiz over Rob Holding as well. So I can't really blame Arteta for that.
That's what I'm saying. You expect your players to be professional. Luiz lacks professionalism with that performance. You don't come in. You're supposed to be ready to play. He didn't look ready to play, and he blamed it on his contract after the game. Well, what more can you say? Maybe part of that is on the coach, the board, the owners, whatever. But David Luiz is doing himself no favors when he comes out and puts on performances like that on the field. Everybody's watching. People can see how he's playing. If he wants another contract, he needs to perform like he deserves a contract. You don't go out there and make a mockery of the game. That was embarrassing. He embarrassed himself. So
and from what I've heard, I know he was trying to politic to get to Benfica. So playing like that, and Benfica, the biggest holdup that they had was his wages. And so with the performances like that, Benfica ain't paying no 120, let alone 80 a week, which is a lot to Benfica.
He's hurting his bargaining power. He's giving away his leverage.
Exactly.
That performance right there.
We have enough time to talk bad about Arsenal in the next game that they played. We can talk about how bad Arsenal was in that segment.
Listen, this isn't the Bash Arsenal hour.
No, it's not. It's not. But it's
Bash Arsenal podcast
that we have to talk about, because a lot of things happened in that game. So That's the only reason I was asking. And I thought it was somewhat unprofessional for David Luiz at the end of the game to talk about his contract. He should just took it on the and he came out and spoke. He didn't have to come out and speak. He came out of the locker room to talk. So clearly he wanted to send a message to somebody. I'm not sure who that was.
for David Luiz for me has been. I don't know why Chelsea and Arsenal is playing him in the back. David Luiz is not a defender. I think he's more of a midfield type. Like in the midfield, he has the opportunities to play. He has the opportunities to make a mistake because he's great going forward. Going forward, David Luiz is a very good player, right? But defensively, when he makes his mistakes, the next thing is you're face to face with a goalkeeper. I don't think that's the position that you need to put David Luiz in. And I think when he was in PSG and he was playing in that sixth role, he made somewhat of a difference, even though it wasn't the French league. But I don't know why people keep putting David Luiz in that position, though.
I mean, we're talking about a guy that's played for some big clubs at center back. So, KG, what are your thoughts on David Luiz and what M just said in regards to him not being a center back or a proper center back at that?
When you put players in a position that you know that they're not good at, like I don't know what else you expect. Like David Luiz is a player who can play a position, but the position that they have him playing is not the position that he plays. So anytime you put him in a two center back system, he struggles. Like it's not a secret. That's why when he plays in the center of essentially he steps out as the deep line playmaker when he plays in the center in the middle of three center backs. Like that's what he's good at. And so when he makes a mistake, you have two other center backs covering you, so it doesn't really kill you. So like again, that like M said, like there's no like that's why David Luiz flourished under Antonio Conte. So I don't want to. David Luiz is what he is, and when Arsenal decided to spend money on him, if they weren't going to play him in the position where you know he can be successful, that's on them. Like David Luiz, everybody knows what David Luiz is. Like everybody does. It's not a secret.
Khan, what are your thoughts? Do you think he's a proper center back or more of a six?
David Luiz was an emergency signing for us. He was convenient. He was in the league. He was available. He's got experience. If he plays up to the level that we've seen in the past, he's good value. When he plays like how we saw against City, he is not even Premier League standard. So that's what you get with David Luiz sometimes.
Indeed. So we'll move on from Arsenal City. Another game a big game that happened was Tottenham United, and that game had a little bit of not everything, but in terms of what it brought history wise. You have Jose Mourinho playing against his players again. You have Tottenham, Manchester United. You have two teams chasing top four. What were your thoughts on the game? And does it feel weird to watch Tottenham just park the bus? What are your thoughts on that?
So my thoughts on the game is I think that we should have played Tottenham before the quarantine, and that way we would be in a better position. Because the fact that those guys got Kane back, they got Son back, and they got Sissoko back. Like those three players make such a big difference on their park the bus type of style play.
I think was Lloris hurt as well? I think Lloris was hurt as well, wasn't he? Or did he come back by the time?
I'm not. KG was. I don't remember if
Lloris was hurt. Lloris was hurt. He messed it. He fell into the goal. You remember he messed up his elbow or something like that.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah.
So that's
broke his arm.
Players that
four players. Yeah.
Right. So that's four players that they actually have coming back. Which, I guess, to counter that, Manchester United had Pogba coming back, and we also had Marcus Rashford. So that's. What's his name? Phil Jones is still recovering, so we still have that liability. Hopefully he can get back soon. But they have players that came back, and we had players that came back. It's very weird to see Tottenham play the style of football that they're currently playing. Mourinho at the end of the game had mentioned that if he had Dele Alli, then it would be a different game, which is true. But you had a lot of impact players. That game for me. That game was worth staying at home for 100 days and not doing anything. Like the way how we actually played the game, it was we were efficient in moving the ball. When Pogba came on, you could see his talent basically surpassed a lot of players that were on the field. The substitutions that were made was right. the way how Manchester United was playing football is not something that I'm used to, so I have to appreciate it. One thing that I have to mention though is the fact that when they scored that goal, it was a minute after the water break. So they were playing defensive minded. Mourinho saw something, and he now has the opportunity to go sit and talk with his players and say, hey, make some adjustments. Then they scored. So I think Mourinho still has the edge in terms of his tactical ability, but my team they look good. They look good. So
make sure you ask about David De Gea. Remember, you asked about David Luiz. Make sure you ask about David De Gea.
So David De Gea, that was a good
point. Is he still is David De Gea still world class?
World class, yes, but I think that it's time for him to. I think that it's time for us to move on to Henderson. So I do think that he's a world class goalkeeper, but I think it's time for us to move on to Henderson.
Before I go to Akan and ask him what his thoughts are, I'm going to quote Roy Keane. Roy Keane said, if he was on that bus on the way back home, he wouldn't let Maguire or De Gea hop on the bus. He said those guys got to find a ride.
Nope.
Those guys find a ride.
Getting on this bus.
He said, Roy Keane said, I checked it out. It was $200 for the Uber from Tottenham back to Manchester is $200. It's easy money. You guys go figure it out.
God, on that point, what were your thoughts on the game? And what do you think about this Dutch kid that Jose signed? He seems to score in big games. I know the last goal that he had was against City.
Is that Bergwijn?
Bergwijn, yeah.
Pulled him from Ajax, maybe.
PSV.
Okay. He looks a player. He looks a player. Good job on Tottenham's part for their scouting. He looks promising. I think overall it was a very well coached game from Jose Mourinho. I think he knew the game plan and executed it to perfection. But he was let down by Eric Dyer and his personnel a little bit at the end of the game. Paul Pogba produced some magic, which we know he's capable of. And United were able to steal a point. But you saw Manchester United struggling to build, struggling to break down the deep block. They're a team that usually plays on the counter. That's where they've been most effective this season. You've seen the results. They've historically this season gotten results against the big clubs because they play on the counterattack. Marcus Rashford, counterattack. Anthony Martial, counterattack. That's how they've been picking up their points. And Mourinho knew that. Mourinho knew that. And they were on their way to 3 points until Pogba came on, created magic, and they stole a point. United have been deadly from this. They've been deadly from the spot. They're a team that gets a lot of penalties, and that's how they were able to pull out a point. But if you watch that game. If you watch that game, you saw it.
So first of all,
I agree. I agree with Akan's analysis of the game. Like there's one way to play against United. Like if you're
what is that, a low block?
If you're a tactician and your team is tactically flexible, like that's how you play against United. Because if you would be an idiot to go out and play against them in this fashion that suits them best. Like how do you play against Manchester United? Hold on. You know that there's only one way that they can beat you. Why would you go out and play that way that you know that they can beat you?
Correct.
It doesn't make any sense.
So Jose was a tactical genius because Jose did what
It's not about being a tactical genius. It's about common sense.
You just said tactical genius.
You guys only play one way effectively, and if you eliminate that way. If you eliminate that option, then you guys struggle to create. It's a fact. We watched the game, and we've watched it over and over and over again all season.
I will say one thing. Go ahead, Em.
So in the past 11 games, we have not lost our 11 games. All the 11 games that we played, we haven't lost one. Right? Started to figure out. The teams that we played were Europa League teams, and they were next to nothing. But we have started to figure out how to play the game. Yes, we started out initially as a counter-attacking team, but you can clearly tell that the talent that Pogba has, once Pogba is instilled in the starting 11, then that's going to be a difference maker, right? He initially started out with the team that has brought him success through the past, not success, that has not brought him failure. And by failure, I mean lost games in the last 11 games that is post without Pogba. Now they bring Pogba in and you can tell that the dynamic is working. So like I said, we will not lose another game until the end of the season. Like after the season, we will not lose in the Premier League. We won't lose another game.
To hit on that, hold on, KG, hold on. To hit on that, we're giving Jose a lot of credit for his Jose-like system, right? Are we going to give Ole credit for bringing on his approach? Are we going to give Ole credit for bringing on Pogba when he brought him on?
And bringing Bruno.
Actually, not a con. KG, you haven't gotten to talk. Should we give Ole credit for bringing on Pogba as well?
I mean, I guess. Why is the Pogba not starting?
Ole, that's the one thing that I realized that everybody does.
Well, so I don't understand. So why is he on the bench to begin with?
Nobody gives Ole credit for bringing.
I can't give you credit. I can't give you credit for doing something that you should have already fucking done.
Okay.
The guys.
Has anybody something that you should have already done?
He hasn't played.
What do you mean?
Months.
Has anybody?
So I understand him not starting, but bringing him on.
Nobody has
taken that risk.
Nobody has.
Nobody has. Pogba hasn't. Okay, nobody has played in 3 months. Pogba hasn't played in 6 months.
6 months.
Okay, right. So everybody else has been out for 3 months.
You can't say okay. So 6 months of not playing football.
What is he talking about? That's the thing. So Pogba always. I feel like Pogba gets.
Everybody else is at 3 months.
Right, yes. But everybody else was healthy, and they're coming from a healthy place. Where him,
so is he your best player or not?
No. What it sounds like is there's a certain bias when you're speaking. Is what I'm saying. You have to give the coach credit. Yeah, because a game changed, right? And these run-up games that have happened thus far, coaches have rested players that are starters usually and bring them on at a certain time. He brought him on when he brought him on, and it worked, right? He got a PK. He changed the game completely. To say I don't give him credit because he didn't start it just doesn't seem very fair. Akon, is that a fair point?
Here. Look, I give him credit. I give him credit for bringing on his best player.
Fantastic. Akon.
Look, either Ole.
Trying to do? Okay,
if Ole,
conspiracy. Go ahead, Akon.
If Pogba was fit, and Ole didn't start him, then you can't give Ole credit for fixing his mistake. That's what we're getting at here. Look at Tottenham. Harry Kane was out.
Here's the point.
He started. Are we going to give Jose credit if we brought in
January 1st? Shouldn't have started. Harry
Kane got injured since January 1st.
This is a tough game.
You could tell that Harry Kane is not the Harry Kane that he used. His fitness was down. You can clearly tell. Me and Marvin are watching the game downstairs, and we said that Harry Kane has a big belly. Like we're like, man, why is Harry Kane moving like he's fat? That's the things that we're down here talking about with Harry Kane, because he's been injured since January 1st, right? Pogba has been injured since before that, and then he tried to come back and play the game against Newcastle, and then it got worse. He had to have surgery and do all of that stuff. He's been out for 6 months. Everybody else has been out for 3. And we're still using the same bar for Pogba versus everybody else.
It's different positions as well, right? If Pogba was to start, he probably would have been tired in the 60th, 70th minute, right? He's in the midfield. He's going to do more running. Kane is literally just sitting in the middle, not doing much running. So it's different positions from midfield to striker. So that comparison is a bit flawed to me. But we'll move on that point. I think I'll give Jose credit because I do agree that United are deadly on the counter, and that's usually how they get points from these big teams. And they tend to struggle against smaller teams because smaller teams are playing a low block against them. So it makes sense to play a low block, right? But I also give Ole credit for the substitutions he made because I feel like it changed the game completely. And United were unlucky to not score a second goal. If there was 5 or 10 more minutes into that game, I think they would have scored a second goal.
Mason Greenwood almost had a goal in the last kick of the game.
There were multiple chances for United.
He took off Fred. He could have taken off McTominay, so I'll give him credit for that. He knows who his top players are.
Say that again, Akon. He could have taken off.
He could have taken off McTominay, but he took off Fred. So I'll give Ole credit for knowing who his best midfielders are. A lot of people don't rate Scotty McManus.
Like sauce.
Scotty's a good player, man, and he bulked up during the break I saw. All right, moving
I
on,
like
guys. We just talked about Arsenal, so I'll hold that off. Chelsea, Aston Villa. What were your thoughts, KG? I'll start with you. What were your thoughts on the game? Are you convinced by Chelsea? What's your take on it?
It was kind of like what is exactly the way that they were before the break. Like there was nothing really changed. Like we know the deficiencies in the squad, and the same deficiencies are still there. So like until those deficiencies are fixed, then we're gonna be playing the way that we play. But I mean, it was still a good win. We should have. We gave away a cheap goal, and I think the best thing that I took out of that match was N'Golo Kante playing in his position is still the best in the world at that position. Like he was so far and away the best player in the match. It was crazy.
I agree. I think there's a reason why we signed Timo and Hakeem Ziyech. In around that 18, we kind of get lost, and teams just play a low block and take their chances. Akan, something that the Villa. First, I want to hear your insights on the game, but I also want to ask you the 5-sub rule. It seems like the top teams are benefiting from having a better depth in teams. So the Aston Villa manager had mentioned that it's an unfair advantage for the big teams. What are your thoughts on the game, and what are your thoughts on that 5-sub rule?
I think it's absolutely a bigger advantage for the bigger teams because they have deeper rosters and more resources available. So it's to their advantage. I will say that you do need a coach that knows what he's doing to take advantage of the extra subs and the timely subs. So there's still a caveat there. A tactical coach will know how to use the subs better. So I guess if you can't get the subs wrong. So all things considered, it should be an advantage, but there are some managers that love to tinker, and sometimes more choices can hurt as opposed to help. It should, but in practice, I don't think it always will.
Yeah, and what are your thoughts on the game? Do you think Chelsea has what it takes to continue this run?
Look, with Chelsea,
not even a run. It's only been one game, really, but feels some momentum.
If you could call it momentum, Chelsea have a decent squad, and they always seem to pull out decent results. What is there to say about Chelsea? I don't think they were particularly impressive today, but they got 3 points, and that's kind of their MO. Lampard, I think, got his substitutions correct. He brought on Pulisic, and he scored a goal. He started Giroud over Tammy Abraham, and Giroud scored. That's 2 for 2 right there. So credit to Lampard. Chelsea weren't sharp, but they still pulled out 3 points. So you got to give it up to them.
Listen, guys, let me tell you something now.
Go ahead.
Chelsea,
Let us know how you feel.
you guys know I'm Amsterdamers, because I told you guys that David Luiz was gonna pull his diaper down and poo all over the field, and it came.
Over the field.
So
why do you keep on mentioning?
That's not a hard prediction.
Why?
Right, that's like saying water's wet.
Let me tell you something. Chelsea.
No, but to have direct impact into the game, you got to give Em some credit, dog. Like Em literally told us,
I'm not giving Em any credit.
No, I'll play the one goal away.
I'll play the tape, but I don't want guys. I can't on.
Don't bother. Save that tape.
But Chelsea, the schedule that Chelsea has right now, they might end up not making top. They might end up being in 5th place at the end of the season, and I'm just saying that. Chelsea's going to be playing against City. They're going to be playing against Sheffield United. They're going to be playing against Wolves. They're going to be playing against Liverpool. Their schedule is not a joke for the next 8 or 9 games. So even though they were playing a very good game today, you had Giroud, which I always think that Olivier Giroud is a Premier League type of striker, right? Which is he's very effective holding up the ball. He's a fighter, right? He's kind of like a cheap man's N'Golo Kante. Okay? So I think that with the way how Chelsea is playing right now, I think that they have the potential to go far, but they're finishing. The possession today, it was on point. Basically they were Aston Villa was basically on the back foot. They were defending the whole time and they were trying to play counter-attacking football. But I think that Chelsea needs to address the finishing up top, which Nahom, when you said mentioning Timo Werner, I think that's going to be a good run for you guys next season. But this season, I think it's going to be, you guys have rough times ahead.
Yeah, see, I disagree with you because when I look at the schedule, yes, we have City next, but if you look at the next 5 games, it's West Ham, Watford, Crystal Palace, Sheffield, Norwich, and then the last 2 games are Liverpool and Wolves. Do you think that by then the top 5 will be decided? Because I think the hardest games come at the last 2 games of the season, and you guys play Sheffield next. Keep in mind, so everybody still has to. I don't think there's an easy place in the schedule right now because I looked at everybody's schedule. You guys probably have the easiest, I would say, but Arsenal will have it pretty hard because you still got to play Liverpool, I believe. You still have to play Tottenham. There's a few other matches in there that are tough.
That's why I disagree with you, Nahom. You say that they have the easiest, but you have to look at where they struggle. They struggle against these. They struggle against these teams that sit in a low block. So for them to they have to show. Manchester United has to show us that they can do something that they've shown us that they can't do.
Hold on.
They have to do something that they've shown us that they can't. They have not up until this point in the season. They have not been able to play that way.
You guys say that
they have an easy schedule. I disagree on that point because they have teams that they drop points against. These are the teams that they always drop points against.
We'll have a segment about the top 5. Relax, Ekan. Thank you for your for staying put and not yelling and being disciplined. You're a hell of a guy.
Edgy is rude. Edgy, you disrespectful.
Okay, so we're moving on from the Aston Villa Chelsea game as M sips his juice. All right, the next game I want to discuss is Everton Liverpool. I'll start with KG. Liverpool had a chance to get closer to that trophy, if you will. We know they're going to win it, but they could have almost secured it. I guess if they win that game, then all they have to do is tie or get a point from the next game, and the title will be theirs. What did you think of the game? And are Liverpool struggling again, or is there a weakness in Liverpool?
This is a title procession. It's over with. Nobody really these games are just a formality. There's nothing. They're playing it just to play. They don't really have anything to play for left in the season. They got to get 2 more points. It's the whole COVID thing kind of put a damper on what they were trying to achieve, and they lost the game already. So invincibility is no longer there. So I mean, in reality, it's it's they're not going to be able to celebrate. You know what I mean? They're not going to have a parade. So you got to think about all of these things that are just in the forefront of the current situation. And in reality, I don't know. I kind of feel bad for the Liverpool fans that this is I don't know. I feel like it's almost like a fake title.
So when you're talking about there will be no celebrations, when Bayern Munich, there's social distancing going on all around the world, and Bayern Munich won a game, and there was a party for Bayern Munich and Corona fans. Everybody that was a Bayern Munich fan, they were all there out in the open, and coronavirus was the main event. But with that saying, I think that Liverpool, the fans, they are driven by their 12th man. So the fans not being in the stadium is going to have an impact on Liverpool's performance, but they're the champions elect. All they need to do is basically not have another outbreak, and then they win the Premier League. So that's
Khan, hold on. I want to ask you a different kind of question. So they have 83 points right now, right? 23 points ahead of City. They can still, if they get 7 or 18 points, they'll be 101 points. They'll have the all-time leading record for points. Do you think that will motivate them a little bit to gain the points? What are your thoughts on this whole? The competition's over. They don't care.
Well, watching them today, they didn't look motivated to me. I mean, Mo Salah was sat on the bench. He didn't even look like he was watching the game, really. Sadio Mane was not really focused. Did you see him before the game started? They took a knee, and Mane took off running down the touchline and forgot to knee. He had to come back and then take the knee. So, they're a team that doesn't look motivated. They don't look focused at all. They know that the title is a formality at this point. They're out of the Champions League. They're just counting down. And with this big interruption in the middle of the season for COVID, there's going to be an asterisk, even if they do win it. The season was interrupted, but they still get the trophy. They might not get a parade, but I guess they can add that to their tally, and they'll get the trophy in their cabinet. But this is not a normal season. This is not a normal title. So they could get 150 points. That we'll always remember this as the COVID season.
But you can put the asterisk all you want. It's Liverpool is going to win it. Like, they have out of the 9 games, I think they only have to play City and Chelsea as contenders. Like, everybody else in this thing, they got Burnley, they got Arsenal, they got Brighton. So, like, all these teams.
These aren't easy games, man. Like, you keep on saying Brighton and you keep on saying
Come
Burnley.
on now.
Brighton's not easy.
Come on now.
The points your club has dropped has been against those clubs.
Oh, so now we're complaining.
Too.
So now we're comparing Manchester United to Liverpool.
Do you know that Watford I think Watford is the only team that has beat
so far, yeah,
beat Liverpool this year.
Yeah.
So what are we talking about?
What do you mean? What am I talking about? Listen, out of those 9 games, the only they can relax. If I had a 1,000,000-point lead and all I need is 3 more points and 10 more games to go, I can relax a little bit. The problem now is for Klopp. Klopp needs to figure out a way to get them motivated, right? This is where you kind of see where managers in the top echelon, the Zidanes of like in La Liga, when Barcelona and Real Madrid runs off with the championship, like, you need to find a way to keep all these top players motivated.